To kind of come in a little bit here. I want to tell a very, very special thanks to Tamari's Coffee Shop. If you have not heard of them before, they are across from Tiny Town. And it looks like they, according to their website, have delicious snacks and coffee drinks. So you gotta go down there and try that out. But they are our community support of tonight's town hall meeting, so we thank them. I'd also like to thank Conifer Jazzercise for providing the bottled water tonight. So there's plenty of water back there if you get thirsty. It's kind of hot in here. And Sharon Turk of My Mountain Town is here tonight. Hi, Sharon. Sharon is not always here, but she's here tonight, excuse me, to film. So our speakers tonight have been asked to present just the facts, not in support or in opposition of any development or ballot issue or anything else. So we've asked them to do that, and I know that they will. Now, most of you have been here many, many times, so you know the drill. You know that there are no comments, no questions, no campaigning during the presentations. And then at about 8 o'clock, we will have an open house format, and you can go and talk to all of the speakers with any questions or comments that you have. So if you can just hold off on those comments and questions till 8 o'clock, we'll be good. So what's going on around here? There is a lot. First of all, Melanie, the director at Conifer Area Chamber, is going to talk about the chamber updates.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, and thank you for shopping locally. And I love hearing all of our chamber members getting involved with the community. Tamari's Jazzercise, Sharon, we love having her back with My Mountain Town. And we are thrilled to just have chamber members be a part of the community, and it's fun to see that. I have 3 announcements for you tonight. First off, we have a after-hours mixer tomorrow night. Evergreen, Yvonne, I'm looking at you and I'm not losing my track. We're over at the Senior Resource Center. We're doing a combined chamber mixer with the Evergreen Chamber. And then Conifer Salvation Army and Evergreen Salvation Army are kicking off their bell ringing season. So it's going to be a huge mixer. We're really excited to be able to partner with and bring all of those 3 organizations together. So if you're interested in joining for that, if you'd like to check out the chamber as far as promoting your business and meeting people in the community, that's a great place to start. Then, next week, we are helping businesses grow with 2 educational workshops. So the first workshop is with Mick Helms. He is a business coach, and he has a 5-part Grow Your Business workshop on how to upsell, downsell, and cross-sell. And then we also have a workshop with Kristen Hossman of Mount Evans Consulting, and her workshop is developing the best budgets for your business. So great opportunities for our businesses to work and grow their business. And then we also have, this weekend, we have Oktoberfest. So this is our 10th annual Oktoberfest. We just came from the final planning meeting. We have over 20 breweries that will be there. Tickets are $25, available online or Brooks Place Tavern. The event is right outside in the patio of Brooks Place. Morris Evergreen Auto Body is sponsoring that event. And we are partnering with Bootstraps. So Bootstraps is an organization that provides financial assistance to students heading off to college. So we're partnering with them, and a portion of the proceeds will be donated to that organization. And then finally, I have a new resource guide on our website. So you can log on to goconifer.com if you know of anybody that's new to the area, or if you're new to the area, sign up for the downloadable new resource guide. And then we will be communicating with you throughout the year, giving you just information on what's coming up in the community, when you need to get snow tires done, and all of that sort of thing. So check us out at goconifer.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melanie. And next we have Jana Spiker and Steve Harrelson with CDOT, and they're just going to give us a little bit of update about what's going on with Highway 285.
All right, well, good evening. Thank you for having us. As Shirley said, my name is Jana Spiker, and I'm a resident engineer with CDOT. And tonight we're here to give you an update on the 285 corridor here in your community. I want to address, received an email from Shirley here this week, and I understand that there is a rumor going around about a potential signal going on 285. I've heard both at Kennedy Gulch Road and also at Kings Valley Drive. CDOT has no plans to install a signal at these locations, and so I just want to clear that rumor up. That being said, this summer we've been busily working on completing our preliminary design for the Kings Valley interchange, and tonight I actually have a video here to show you. Might need Sarah's help. As she's getting it set up, we'll go ahead and take a look at it. So as we had earlier said, we were looking at potentially an $8 to $10 million project. That was part of the effort that was going on during the last year to identify any right-of-way impacts and other environmental impacts, as well as truly understand what our geometry looks like. So we have been able to produce a rendering of what the interchange would look like. Here you can see you're going up over the overpass headed towards the eastbound direction.
285 goes south to north.
I'm sorry. In that direction, it'd be northbound. So, with the design level that we've been able to complete, we have identified that this project is closer to a $10 million project. So we aren't quite there on the funding. We are actively, continually pursuing other funding avenues. And then we will also have additional property costs on top of the actual construction.
So in terms of the funding, we've identified about $8 million of what we need. So we've got a couple $1 million shortfall. We are having some conversations with Jefferson County to see if they can contribute, having conversations with other funding sources within CDOT. We're so close, we're going to continue with the design, and it's kind of like the Field of Dreams movie. If we design it, the funding will arrive. So, we're so close. I think we'll have a project hopefully in the next year. That's certainly our goal. So, $1 million or $2 million sounds like a large shortfall, but I think in the scheme of CDOT, it's going to happen.
And I do have other renderings of the project from other viewpoints if you're interested in coming by after. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So they will be around to talk to you afterwards. So some interesting stuff going on there, I think. Next we have Sam and Jenny with the library system, and they're going to be talking about the Conifer Library.
Hi. So I think I've seen a lot of you come into the library before, but I just wanted to spotlight some of the stuff we have that people don't know about, because a lot of people still just think, well, I don't read that many books, but we have movies, we have music, and we have some really cool stuff on our website too. We've just gotten a new service called Freegal. It's a music streaming service, free, legal. And we've just added access to a new site called Creative Bug. Basically, it's access to tons of arts and crafts and how-to kind of tutorials for all kinds of things. So if you ever wanted to teach yourself to knit or cake decorate or paint or all kinds of things, I can't even remember what they all are from looking on there. And then one of the big ones that I get people really surprised about is we have a service called Culture Passes. This lets you get free passes to different museums in the area and play some cool ones like the Butterfly Garden, Molly Brown House, Railroad Museum, all kinds of stuff. You just go online, sign up for the pass on the day you want it, and you get a confirmation email printed out. That's your pass. Super easy. You don't even have to come in and see us, but we like if you do. I think that's about everything I have, but if you don't have a library card, we'll be set up back there. We can get you hooked up. And next week is Banned Books Week, so go read something controversial for me.
Thank you, Sam, and thanks, Jenny, too. Okay, so as you know, we have all kinds of different developments being planned in the Conifer area. So Heather and Josh are here to talk about that for a little bit.
Thanks, Shirley. It's great to be back here for fall and throughout the winter and spring. We'll be here. I may be talking a little faster than normal tonight because there is a lot to go through, and Josh is going to help me with some of the pre-applications, but we have a lot of different big picture projects that I wanted to let you know about as well. So first I'm going to talk about a project that we just recently completed up in the Evergreen area, so not Conifer, but we could learn some lessons from this and relate them back to some of the Conifer area. There was a technical advisory panel that met to discuss the downtown Evergreen area. This was a project that Jefferson County partnered with a local organization in downtown Evergreen called DEED, the Downtown Evergreen Economic District. And they worked with us. We got a grant with Dr. Cog, and we were able to get experts in from a variety of fields to talk to us and talk to stakeholders in the Evergreen area about what things we could do to maintain the vibrancy of the downtown Evergreen area and maybe address some of the problems that we saw with zoning and having a floodplain through the area and parking. And hopefully some of those concepts that we heard will be able to translate to other mountain communities in Jefferson County. So it was a really fun planning project that we just recently did. We'll have all of the final results on our website. Next, I want to briefly talk about some regulation revisions that we have coming up. Some more simple ones are being run by our engineering section, and one of them relates to mergers. We have a merger process, and we have found that we don't have an unmerger process, that you have to go through a full subdivision plat. In most cases, that does make sense because a lot of mergers take place because somebody needs that land for a septic system or to get a building permit. But in some situations, and it may not happen a whole lot, there are situations where we want a simpler process. And so we're looking at a simpler unmerger process. We're also looking at simplifying the right-of-way vacation process. Right-of-ways are those areas where roads are dedicated to the county, and sometimes they're not built, and they aren't feasible to be built. They might be running up the side of a mountain. So that's a case where you can go through the vacation process, and an adjacent property owner might be able to acquire that. We have some regulations that go above and beyond state statute, and we're really evaluating whether we need those or not. And so we're looking at simplifying that vacation process. Oh. The big one that I wanted to talk to you about is short-term rentals. So keep your eyes open and look at our website, sign up to get notifications about this. We're looking at updating our short-term rental regulations, so VRBOs, Airbnbs. We estimate approximately 1,400 in the county that are not permitted, and we have about 4 that have gone through the county permitting process. So we think that maybe there's a way we could incentivize people getting permits by breaking down the permitting process into kind of 2 levels. If you live in the home and you are renting out a few rooms, then maybe you can go through an administrative process. If you are buying a home and it's an investment and you don't live there, you would still need to go through a hearing process. So that's a concept that we're looking at right now. It will go through various referrals, and we haven't really sent it out for comments yet. Nick Nelson will be the case manager on that, and so I have his cards, and if you have comments and any ideas on it, then you can grab his card and let him know. I also want to talk about the comprehensive master plan. Last time we were up here, we talked about how we were going to focus on water policies. And we've started the process. We're still not as far along as I was hoping at this stage. We're still talking with stakeholders, so we're still pretty preliminary in the revisions. But we've identified 4 areas that we really think we might need to beef up our comprehensive master plan policies. I do want to note that this is not addressing our regulations, which apply broader to different developments. Our regulations would apply to rezonings, subdivisions, building permits, The comprehensive master plan only applies to rezonings and special uses. So that's one thing I just want to make sure that you're aware of. But we're looking at beefing up our water conservation policies. We think that maybe there could be some landscaping, standard site design, and also looking at education. We have some really good education policies, but we haven't been implementing them, and maybe there's a way that we could really get those implemented. We also have a daily water use table in the back of the comprehensive master plan that we think was probably created in the 1970s. Maybe that needs to be looked at and updated to see what some new numbers might be. And then with that daily water usage, maybe we look at what the land uses are in some of the commercial areas or some of the activity centers, and whether we need to update any of those recommendations based on any of the numbers that we see. Next, I'm going to go through some of the development proposals. There's a lot of new cases, so I'm just going to hand it right over to Josh to start talking about our pre-applications.
So the pre-application review process is an optional process that is used to provide applicants with a review of development proposals before formally submitting an application. It's an opportunity for a potential applicant to come in and get a better understanding of county processes and the issues relative to the specific land development. The pre-application review process is not a public meeting, so there are no formal land use decisions that will be made in the pre-application meeting, and there is no public notice because of that. About 40 to 50% of them do not move forward. I'm going to talk about a couple cases that are currently in the pre-application phase right now. Thank you. Just hit that. So what's that? Oh, laser pointer. Okay. Oh, perfect. All right. Sorry about that. The first one is located. A lot of you will probably recognize this, just west of the trout ponds on 285. They have a plat. They currently are zoned for 22 single-family lots. The parcel itself, there's actually multiple parcels, equals about 41.65 acres, and they are proposing 23 single-family lots. The next one is down in Pine Grove, off 7th Street. So right now they're between two neighbors, and they're looking at doing a lot line adjustment to transfer 1 acre between the applicants. The total acreage would be about 12.17 acres. The next one is 12240 Ridge Road. This would just be off Pleasant Park Road. They're looking to rezone to allow a campground, event center, and educational programming. I believe this is the one some of you might have received notification about. It never went forward, so it kind of references that 40 to 50% that never moved forward but had the opportunity to come into the county, review our processes, and see if it's even realistic. The next one's off Deer Creek Road. This is just, say, northeast of High Grade and Maxwell Hill. They are looking to do multiple 10-acre lots on 275 acres. And the last one, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of this one. This is the development right behind Safeway. Their pre-application actually came in January, but as of right now, we haven't had a formal application submitted, but they do seem like they are interested in going forward. And Heather will talk about community meetings.
Thanks. Okay, after pre-applications and before somebody can make a formal application for a rezoning, then they need to do a community meeting. And that is another meeting where there are no decisions made, but it's an opportunity for the developer to talk to the citizens about their proposal and get feedback. Staff is always at those meetings, but again, I want to emphasize that there are no decisions made. It's very early in the process. So the first community meeting you may have heard about, but I wanted to say briefly, this came in during the break for the Conifer Area Council. Eagle Cliff Road, there's a proposal for rezoning to allow for some tiny homes. And this community meeting was held in July. I guess it was a pretty well-attended meeting. I want to say that about 80 people attended. So a lot of interest from the community on this one. We'll see, they have not made a formal application yet. Next, there is a community meeting tomorrow night for a rezoning off of Highway 285 and the frontage road right near the Park and Ride. There's the Park and Ride. And it's rezoning to allow for a larger church. At a previous meeting, I talked about a site development plan for this, and then the applicants decided they wanted to perhaps do a bigger church, 8,000 square feet rather than 6,000. So they need to then pursue the rezoning process. Next, I'm going to talk about some formal rezoning cases, and these rezonings are those properties where they're changing their land use, so they're going from maybe a residence to commercial use or commercial to residential. These do have public hearings associated with them, and I'm going to have to really talk fast here. So we're going to talk about first a couple of cases that were approved. The Blue Jay Inn down in Buffalo Creek, that was recently approved this summer. There's also a rezoning that was a pretty simple rezoning, just to combine two different lots that were different zone districts to allow one home. That was approved in July. There is a rezoning proposal right near the intersection of Kitty Drive and Highway 73, and they have made their formal application. It's in the first referral. Hasn't moved forward since the last time I was here, but I did want to let you know it's still going forward. Subdivision plat. This is where the lot lines are actually created. The use is in place, but we go through the creation of the lot lines, and it is also a public hearing process. There are several plats that are in right now, so I'm going to briefly go through them. This is one that is for 10-acre lots, 6 10-acre lots that are just west of South Deer Creek Canyon Road. There's another one that was recently approved near Cinch Court and Highway 285 in the Homestead area. And that they have been approved and they need to record their subdivision plat. The Boulders subdivision, this is also in the Homestead area, and it is going to the Board of County Commissioners on September 24th, so next Tuesday, for 21 2-acre lots. Some site development plans. These are more for commercial developments, and it is an administrative process, so no public hearings. Wanted to let you know, Emmaus, they are running into some struggles with their floodplain, and so they are still moving forward, but they haven't made another referral to, or another submittal to the county. The Blue Jay Inn, the rezoning was approved, and they are also going through the site development plan. There is the self-storage that is off of Davis, just near the King Supers, and they are adding some additional buildings. There is the Dutch Brothers, and that was approved in July, near the old Safeway. And that's all I have. So I know that was very brief, so come see us afterwards.
Thank you, Heather and Josh. I'm so sorry we have to cut them short, because I know that's interesting information, and you will all want to go and talk to them afterwards, I'm sure. Next, I would like to introduce our new CEO at Mountain Resource Center, Sarah Kinzer, and with her is Lisa Nissley to talk a little bit about what's going on at Mountain Resource Center. Sarah?
Thank you, Shirley. So I'm the brand new CEO at Mountain Resource Center. I've been there for 2 months now. It's been a really busy time, and I've learned a lot coming up there. I have been in the nonprofit direct service field since '92, so I have a lot of experience working with communities experiencing poverty and homelessness, substance abuse, and mental health. So most recently running an organization down in downtown Denver for the last 7 years. So I come with some nonprofit leadership experience and also the direct service experience. So I think that serves me pretty well at Mountain Resource Center. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this center. We have a lot of robust programs for veterans, children and families, workforce program, basic services, so those are emergency needs like utilities and rental assistance and gas cards for the transportation issues that people face. We also have a food pantry on site, and just down the road a little ways, a beautifully remodeled and re-expanded resale store that does a brisk business, and all of the proceeds that come in there benefit our clients at Mountain Resource Center. So I'm excited to be a part of this community and to learn more about the mountain community and the Conifer area and the needs that are here. And I'll be here afterwards, so if you want to come chat with me, I'm happy to answer questions. And I want to pass it over to Lisa because we have some pretty exciting fundraisers coming up, and she knows a lot about them as our special events person.
Thank you, Sarah. I wanted to let you guys know that our Mountain Bowls project is in full swing. You've probably seen it on Facebook and newspapers, social media, all of that. But we do this Mountain Bowls project. Community members like yourselves come together, paint these beautiful bowls, and then they're used as souvenirs at these fundraising events. And they really symbolize the need in our community. A lot of people don't necessarily see it, but there's a need for food and a lot of basic needs services. So these fundraisers help support Mountain Resource Center and the programs and services that we provide to the community, all community members, at no cost. Everything we do now at Mountain Resource Center is at no cost. So I'd like to invite you to attend one of them. Our first one is next Thursday, September 26th. It's more of a formal gala. Local restaurants provide soup. We have hors d'oeuvres, we have a wine pull, we have a silent auction. We have live acoustic music by Conifer Arts, which was formerly Fireside Arts. It's just a really nice evening to get together and celebrate everything we do. And then our other event is Tuesday, October 15th. Again, open to the community, and it's more of a casual event. It's great for groups, book clubs, churches, families. It's just a really nice way to come enjoy more of a relaxed setting. You still get a bowl, and it still raises funds for Mountain Resource Center. So we just wanted to invite you all, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you both. So next we have Joshawn Kennedy from the U.S. State Forest Service. He is not on the agenda. He's just going to take a couple minutes to update you on what's happening there. So Joshawn.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I work for the U.S. Forest Service, which is part of the federal government. And I know Shirley's going to kill me here. Let's say, does everybody know where our new office is by any chance?
Yes.
Yes. So it's right off the King Valley Road. So we support CDOT and their endeavor for $2 more million. I make a left out of there every evening, and it scares the heck out of me. So I'm going to politic for that, please. The other thing is that we were talking about the planning committee. They were having a lot of homes, and Chief is going to talk after the area around here in Conifer and Evergreen. There's actually more homes threatened by wildfire here in LA County and San Diego County combined. So let that sink in. That's a lot of homes. So it always scares me when I hear that there's going to be more homes. Sorry, Planning Commission. So a couple things that I wanted to talk about. We have had a couple fires recently, both in the Bailey area. Sunday we had a 12-acre fire. Yesterday was fully contained at 12 acres. So we still have some firefighters on it, and we plan on having firefighters on it for the next couple of days. 3 weeks ago, Monday, we had a fire outside of Bailey as well, up in the Shawnee Peak area. That was 70 acres. We just contained that about an hour and a half ago. So that's down fully. Pretty rough country up there if you're not familiar with it. It was started by lightning. And it's about a 4-hour hike down, so we're not exactly sure how much hike up. We've been using helicopters, but now we're going to monitor it by air, and if conditions change, we'll put some firefighters on the ground. But it's a lot of risk and a lot of exposure, a lot of hard work that's been done over the past 3 weeks. So that one we should be good with. We're feeling really comfortable. The one on Sunday, does anybody know how it started?
Yes.
Yes? Shooting, recreational shooters. So take that for what it's worth. Most of our human-caused fires around here are caused by recreational shooting. Lightning, recreational shooting, so it does get scary. We've been really good at our job for the past 100+ years by putting all the fires out. Most of our fires are really either small, at 1/10 of an acre, or 130,000 acres like the Hayman. We kind of did that. We have fire exclusion. So one thing that I'm going to talk about here is some prescribed fire that we're getting ready to do. In Jefferson County, we're looking at Sand Springs, about 250 acres maybe this fall. if conditions allow. Right now, we're right about that right area to do it. We've got some fires going on, so our firefighters are been committed to that. Maybe the next few weeks, if conditions allow, we're looking at burning that. Sand Springs is right across from the Spring Creek subdivision, if you're familiar with that, on County Road 126. Another one that we're looking at is Harris Park, by the Harris Park shooting area, 280 acres up there. Another thing is that we're looking to do it when conditions allow. The reason we're doing that is because of fire exclusion, we are trying to add fire back to the ecology and put it on our terms, not Mother Nature's terms. We do a lot of science, a lot of background, a lot of thought, 24-hour patrol. I will bring a lot of folks in to make sure that we're good and secure, that that's what we're doing. I've got a map over here afterwards. I'll be here. If I need help, I've got my good friend Dale Kleinschmidt over there behind me with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Thank you for your help with your folks on Sunday, by the way. We were evacuating some homes and they came and gave us a hand, so we appreciate that. That's all I have, Shirley. Thank you.
And yes, Joshan, you are in trouble. Just so you know. Okay. So Bill McLaughlin is up next. He is the chief of the Elk Creek Fire Department, and he's going to be talking about wildfire and ability to fight fires in the Conifer area. And before Bill takes the mic, can I just ask, is Scott Murdock here tonight with the... He is here. Good. Okay. Thanks, Scott. Okay.
Thank you. So Joe Sean talked about it a little bit as far as the fires that have been in the area. You know, this season, fortunately, has been a below normal fire season in Colorado. It was forecast that it would be considerably slower than normal with the heavy precipitation over the winter and into the spring. But even with that, in addition to the 2 fires that the U.S. Forest Service had, we also had, okay, there we go. We also had the 25-acre fire down in Deer Creek Canyon a few weeks back. And that fire actually took a total of about 40 different agencies helping out to contain that. We did get it contained within the first day, which was really pretty remarkable. But again, you know, that's what we're seeing right now in a below normal season. You know, I've gotten kind of a reputation for scaring people about fire, but I think that, you know, that's something that we need to look at. When we look at this area, you know, Colorado has had the largest 20 fires in its history since 1989. Most of them since 2000, and 4 of them have been right here in our area. So we recognize that the risk is great, and it's only getting greater at this point. And part of that is because of, you know, the history of excluding fire from the environment, as Joe Sean mentioned. So as we look at it, you know, we had Colorado State kind of run scenarios to see what it would look like if we had a, you know, a worst case scenario in the area. And you know, the one that they did, they started it on the computer simulator in Evergreen, and by the end of the second day it had burned through Indian Hills and was potentially causing fires down in Lakewood. And if you look at the history of the fires that we've had, like the Hayman fire, which is on the map back there, 16 miles in one day essentially would have burned over the entire district. So that's what we're trying to you know, protect against here in our community. One of the big things that we do in conjunction with our federal and state partners and the other local departments is work within what's called the National Cohesive Strategy. And that is a 3-tiered approach to reducing the risk for communities. And one of those is the landscape resilience, where, you know, we try to turn the clock back on landscapes in the area so that they are not, you know, overgrown forests that burn out very intensely. We've started to have some really good success with that, with a number of thinning projects and shaded fuel breaks that protect communities around here. And that's been done largely with grant funding that comes through Colorado State. That funding has been paying for our mitigation crew over the last couple of years. And you know, that has obviously made a difference. We did have the first fire in Newton Park, which was a recently finished thinning, and that fire stayed to well under 1/10 of an acre, fortunately. One of the other legs of the cohesive strategy is what we call the fire-adapted communities. And fire-adapted communities means that, you know, we do everything we can as a community to keep our homes and businesses safe. And there are a number of projects that we've had going on here locally with home assessments, where you can come by and have someone take a look at your home and provide advice. With the curbside chipping program, which has been a grant-funded program for the last 3 years. That grant funding ends this month. We are going to continue to chip next month, but we will only be chipping next year if the fire department mill levy goes through. In addition, we've been working with the county on planning and building codes and looking at trying to improve how future development goes in here to reduce the risk to all of us. And then the third piece of it is what's called safe and effective fire response. And that is that if we do have fires in the area, we have adequate personnel to respond to and keep those fires small when they are not planned, prescribed events to reduce risk. You know, we've had a few pieces that we have put in place over the years. You know, one of the big issues that we saw from the Lower Norfolk fire was problems with communications. We did get a $1.5 million grant to upgrade the communications around the entire area. That is now up and running. The Wildland Fire Module, our mitigation crew, has also been instrumental in helping keep all of the fires small. On the Deer Creek fire, they were one of the first crews in there to put the fire line in around that fire. Those firefighters are very highly trained and very skilled at getting out and doing that kind of work, because the rest of the time they're hiking up the side of mountains and thinning forests. So that's what they do all summer long. So that mitigation crew has been, again, really a useful tool in the area, and it essentially by itself doubles our capability to attack wildland fires. So it has been a really valuable tool to us, and you can see that with last year when we had an above average or above normal fire potential, and yet we kept all of the fires in the area to less than 5 acres, largely because of having those additional firefighters available. So the fire district is going out for a mill levy, and I can explain to you what will be used for that, but it will be the decision of the people of the community as far as whether these are things that they want to support. One of those proposals is to keep that mitigation crew on. We do not have grant funding passed this year for the chipping or for keeping them on for local response. So we will have to drop that program unless the mill levy passes. But if it does pass, we will keep both of those. Something I think that's important to realize with that as well is that the other slash program that's administered by the county is also at risk of going away if the county's measure does not pass. So if both of those measures do not pass, we will be without any slash disposal programs in the community at all. One of the other issues that we have is the ongoing staffing with the fire department. We have 2 people on other than the fuel module each day, and we have, unfortunately, because the number of calls that are increasing, particularly out on 285, a lot of them at Kings Valley intersection, we are out all the time with that, and so 25% of the time we have overlapping calls. We only have 1 ambulance crew. That means that you wait for volunteers on the second out in ambulance. The problem with that is that we're having an issue with keeping volunteers, and right now with the increasing calls and the decreasing availability, we only have an average of 1 volunteer on each call that goes out. That's not a local problem, that's a national problem. For many years we have been slowly seeing a decline in the number of volunteer firefighters in America. That's accelerated, and the last report that just came out indicated that since 2015 alone, we have lost 20% of the volunteer firefighters across the country. So that's a massive decrease, and it's hitting every volunteer fire department out there. The issues that we have here locally are that our demographics are very much against us. Only 13% of the people who live here in Conifer are between the ages of 18 and 34. And I'll be honest with you, I'm too old to be a firefighter anymore. I still try, but you know, mostly we need those younger folks to be able to do it. The other issue with it is that almost all of our calls now occur during the daytime, when the volunteers are least available because of work. So we have seen a greater and greater stress on the volunteer system here locally. And that's shown up. I think many of you may have heard the discussions we had with the county about trying to support larger buildings in the community and the difficulties we have with that. You know, the recommendations are that if we have a fire in, for example, a townhouse or condo, the recommendations are that we send 27 firefighters, 4 engines, and a ladder truck. We send an average of 7 firefighters in 2 trucks. And then after that, we're hoping that we can borrow from our neighbors as well. That's just, again, a problem that we have with decreasing you know, interest in being volunteer firefighters and an increasing call volume. We've had 20 structure fires since the first of the year. The only year that we had more buildings than that burn in our community was when the High Meadow fire took out 58. So the problems that we've got are most at the 3 volunteer stations at Aspen Park, at Conifer Mountain, and Pine Junction. None of them have the minimum of 8 volunteer firefighters that are recommended to be considered an active fire station, and Pine Junction is down to 2. If we don't turn that around somehow, there's really not much of a way that we're going to be able to keep those stations open and functioning. So one of the proposals that we've got is, you know, for the mill levy, it would be partly used to build resident buildings at those stations. And essentially what we would do is offer free housing in exchange for having people willing to come out and be volunteers. That's been a fairly successful model in many communities to slow that trend toward losing volunteers, but it would require a considerable amount of money to put into capital that we don't currently have. Part of the reason for that has been, you know, many of you may have heard of the Gallagher Amendment, which slows our rate of increase. So even though home values have been going up, over the last 5 years, our revenue has only gone up 7% total. So it's not keeping up with our expenses as we move along. Part of that is also because of ambulance revenue and the Medicare rules. So essentially, we only get about 50% of the funding for ambulance transports, and the rest of it has to be written off. There's nothing we can do about that because the Medicare sets the rules. You know, they will pay us a fixed amount, and we have to live on it. That doesn't impact urban departments nearly as much because for them, an ambulance run to the hospital and back maybe 30 minutes. For us, it's 2 hours each time. And so we have a real difficult time with trying to provide that ambulance and keep it in service throughout the day when we're not getting enough money to keep that service active. That has impacted also our staffing, you know, for both the reasons that we have a declining ambulance revenue, and also this year in particular we've seen some of the grants and contract funding fall off. So we lost 2 paramedics to higher paying jobs this year, and we were not able to fill them. So we are running shorthanded, and we are going to probably stay shorthanded until we have a longer term funding fix in place. So the proposal again would add back the 2 positions that we've lost, in addition again to the other projects I've mentioned. You know, we did have a 2013 mill levy. You probably may remember that. That was for 10 years. It has 3 more years on it, and that money was, we're still making payments on the apparatus and all that we purchased for that. So that mill levy will expire in a couple years. In the meantime, a significant chunk of that is still going into paying for the apparatus that we purchased to replace the really old trucks that we had prior to that. Just to kind of explain our funding situation, 75% comes from property taxes locally. The rest is a combination of the ambulance revenue, donations, and grants. We receive no funding from the county, state, or federal government. So currently, Elk Creek is at 7.41 mils. It's the lowest in on the Front Range. The proposal is to bring it up to even with the neighboring departments, Evergreen, and a little bit above North Fork, a little bit below Inner Canyon, but right in the middle there at 12.5. One of the reasons for that is that we have started discussions with the other 285 area departments about potentially consolidating to create better efficiency, to make a better fire department by merging the 4 small departments together. Unfortunately, we can't do that while our mill levy is significantly below the other departments. Those mill levies have to be close enough that we can come up with a single mill levy that will pay for the whole service gluing together. So those are on hold until until we see whether or not the voters support the mill levy this fall. There are a number of other needs. One of the biggest ones, Mountain Resource Center has a leaking fire cistern. We've got water problems all over the district with old cisterns that need repair, and there's no funding to put those any of them back in service. So there's a handful of things like that, and simple things like paving the parking lot at the fire station, or even fixing the leaking roof at the fire station that will also be covered by this. So just like to say thank you for letting me come up and speak with it, and I'll be around if you have questions.
Thank you, Bill. I'm sure a lot of you do have questions, so please come up and talk to some people up here. Next, I'm sure you've seen all the information and the TV about bears and mountain lions and all the other wildlife. So I asked Scott Murdock to come up. He is the District Wildlife Manager for Conifer Area 1, is that right? Okay, Scott.
Thank you. My name is Scott Murdock. I'm a wildlife officer with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Many of you guys probably know about our park side, which is things like Staunton State Park that we have here locally. We've also got the wildlife side. And so with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, we've got these 2 different sort of splits within our agency. Colorado Parks, or the parks folks, are funded through parks passes, and then the wildlife stuff is funded through the sale of hunting and fishing equipment and licenses. So if you're a hunter or a fisherman, you're the ones that are paying for wildlife management here in Colorado. We've got a few different big issues that we've been dealing with as of recently. Bears are probably number 1. We did have a mountain lion issue in Park County that we dealt with. We could talk more about that. And then we also deal with deer and elk pretty commonly in and around these communities. We have 12 officers that are considered in Area 1, which would be all of Park County, all of Jefferson County, all of Clear Creek County, all of Gilpin County, and part of Boulder County. So we're spread thin, there's not a lot of us, and this is our start of our busy season. So we've got hunting seasons going on, and we've got a lot of folks out in the woods, both recreationists as well as hunters, and we even have, obviously, the fishing that's still going on. As a community, and this is not unique to just Conifer, all along the Front Range, we do a lousy job of bear-proofing our houses. And every bear that we end up killing is the result of the public's inability to make sure that their property is maintained. We need to do a better job. If any of you rode with me and had to go put down a bear that has learned behaviors and become dangerous, you would understand how important it is for us to make sure that we are securing our garbage, make sure that we are taking our bird feeders down, making sure that our barbecue grills are cleaned, making sure our windows are closed on our homes. The unfortunate situation with the gentleman that got attacked in his home, that was a situation that could have been prevented. That bear, unknowingly to us, had been in 5 other homes prior to us being notified. And so what usually happens is we have a bear that goes through a screen door, or goes, initially, maybe it goes to a house that's got unsecured trash, right? No big deal. Everybody thinks it's cute. Well, next time it's up on a porch and it's smelling the food through the window that's open. Then the next time it noses the screen and pushes that screen out. Well, and now that bear knows that this home is a food source and it starts opening windows. Maybe they're unlocked and closed, or maybe they start actually ripping the actual windows off. That bear can't unlearn his behaviors, right? He's just doing what a bear's supposed to be doing. He's being adaptable to the situation, and we're not doing our job of trying to keep him from getting to that point. And now we've got a bear that breaks into houses over and over and over. It's not a safe situation for the public. And while we manage wildlife, our #1 priority is managing the health and safety of the public that we serve. And so in some situations we'll have to trap and handle that bear. In many cases we end up having to put down a bear that's become dangerous. And trust me, it's not what I want to do. I didn't get into this job to go and put down bears, right? But unless we do a better job of changing our habits and living with wildlife, we're going to have that continuing cycle. Same thing with that mountain lion that we dealt with. That situation really was brought upon by folks in the community that were feeding deer illegally, and they attract prey into neighborhoods, and now predators follow those into them. And so because they're subdivisions, we have almost no ability to manage a lot of our wildlife. The rest of the state, we manage our wildlife through hunting and fishing, right? So when we hunt, we take the surplus animals and remove some of those animals and make sure that the population's healthy, that it's got enough food and resources, and it's not overutilizing habitat. But when we can't hunt in a lot of places, it removes our ability to manage the population levels of certain animals. Bears and lions in particular are very, very difficult to manage, and that's why we have a lot of bears and a lot of lions in and around Conifer and Evergreen. And so since we have a lot, we've got to be extra diligent about what we do on a day-to-day basis that may increase our risk for some sort of encounter. With that said, bear and lion conflicts or direct attacks are very rare. We've had only a few fatalities by mountain lions in Colorado, and considering the total number of people in Colorado, that's pretty miraculous. They really don't want anything to do with us, but there are sometimes situations where those animals start getting desperate and they make that decision. So, with that said, if you guys have specific questions, you can talk to me later. We've got a lot of wildlife here in Colorado, and it's a pretty cool resource that we get to live amongst, and we need to learn to live with wildlife responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, next we have a legislative update. We've got Senator Tammy Story here and Representative Lisa Cutter. So Tammy's first.
Thanks so much. I'm Senator Tammy Story, and I represent District 16, which includes this area where we are tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm going to just share a little bit about what's going on right now. We are in the interim session, which means we're not in session like we are from early January to early May. But rest assured that your legislators are not hanging out and enjoying summer like we might have when we were school-age kids. There is tons of work still going on, And in particular, there are interim committees. I sit on 3 of them, plus another committee that is year-round for me. I am the chair of 2 of those interim committees, Making Higher Education Attainable, which goes beyond higher ed colleges and universities. It also includes trade schools and apprenticeship programs as other post-secondary options. And it's not just affordability that we're talking about, it's also access to college or university or trade schools or apprenticeship programs, staying there, getting a degree or credential, and then being able to secure a job. And so we're working on that as a committee and looking at things that we might be able to do as a legislature to help improve all of those concerns. And then also I sit on the Early Childhood and School Readiness Interim Committee, and we are looking at all those barriers relative to early childhood education as well as early childhood childcare. In both cases, we don't have near enough slots or spots for those who would like their kids in childcare or in an education program, and not near enough centers or locations that are providing that service. And the numbers have been declining over time, so we're kind of in a crisis point here in the state of Colorado. So as a committee, we are working on those focus points to try and figure out what we can do to try and improve that situation, because certainly if you are a parent of young children, it makes it harder for you to work if you can't find childcare. So I'm the chair of both of those committees, and then I also sit on Zero Waste, which Rep. Cutter will share a little bit about that, but we're on that committee together, and it's focused on recycling and in the state of Colorado. And then we also collectively wanted to share about Proposition CC, which will be on the ballot this November. And you know, I have to say, Colorado's population and economy is absolutely booming. And this is very incongruent compared to the things that I just barely mentioned about not having enough slots and not having for preschool and early childhood care, and not having enough funding to address some of our issues at higher ed. And certainly what you heard from Chief McLaughlin, right? Sorry, for a second, just forgot. And the funding issues that they're experiencing, and we have those issues. They're rampant in the state of Colorado, and yet our population and our economy is booming.
So we are using, basically we've been using an outdated funding model that is not keeping pace with the growth that the state is experiencing, and has prevented us from using revenue that we collect and that the state collects and already has. We're prevented from using that under this funding model.
So Proposition CC will help the state improve and repair our roads, attract and keep teachers, and also make college and trade schools more affordable.
And there will be unprecedented transparency with this measure, including annual audits, an annual audit, and accountability to taxpayers. So the state is very serious about making sure they're transparent and you know where your dollars are being spent.
And there will be no new taxes in this effort through Proposition CC. So I urge all of you to get more educated about it. You can come ask us some questions, and please consider voting yes on Prop CC to help invest in the issues that matter most to you and the people in your community, our community. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tammy, for teaming up on that piece. And my name is Lisa Cutter. I'm your representative for House District 25, which should be all of you if you're here in the Conifer area. I'm a first-time legislator. I was elected this past session. I serve in regular session, I serve on the Education and the Public Health Committees. And for the interim, I'm on Zero Waste. I'm actually chairing the Zero Waste Committee, and I was pretty excited about that. It's a really complicated problem. Our recycling rate here is abysmal. We are not as green as we like to think of ourselves being, and so I was excited to get the committee, and we've been tackling all kinds of potential solutions, traveling all throughout the state to look at rural areas and other areas, Boulder, and some places who are really doing some good things. So we presented our bill ideas last week, and we're hoping to make some inroads in end market development, which we're really lacking here in Colorado. We don't have anywhere for the waste to go. Who's heard about the problem in China? China's not taking our waste anymore. They don't want it. So we've been really making some progress, and I'm excited to see what the resulting legislation will be to come out of that. We also, let's see, I'm also on the Wildfire Mitigation Committee, which is brings home again here tonight, hearing from Chief McLaughlin, how important it is for us to pay attention to those things. I'm really thrilled to be on that committee. We have another meeting tomorrow where we'll be putting forward legislation, and kudos to the Elk Creek Fire District for doing such a phenomenal job with really the limited resources that they have. So they've done a great job protecting all of us. Next session, I'll be working on, we're already in process, as Senator Story said, we're working hard all summer on committees and on shaping legislation for next session. I'll probably be working, or I will be working on things around the First Amendment rights. The right to protest is being threatened in some parts of the country, so I plan on working on a bill with that. Several things around education. I'm really particularly interested in hunger and waste and food policy too, because there's a lot of resources that we don't respect so well. And I would just like to mention that my sign-in sheet is at the back. If you want to sign up to be on my newsletter, I'd love to keep you in the loop and be able to connect with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa and Tammy. And last up is Lesley Dahlkemper, Commissioner of Jefferson County. Lesley.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Hi, everyone. How are you doing tonight? It's great to see you. Hello, hello. There are two big issues that I really wanted to talk with you tonight, and we'll continue with our theme on wildfire risk reduction to begin with. And then I wanted to share with you a little bit more about the budget challenges that we're facing at the county level. We brought a PowerPoint with us, and I will move through this at a good clip. Otherwise, I know I'll incur the wrath of Angela, which no one wants to incur. So we'll begin a little bit with the Jeffco Wildfire Task Force. I'm really excited to share with you tonight that the Board of County Commissioners held a briefing on our early concept for this task force and has given early preliminary approval to its formation. This is a really big deal for us as a county, in close collaboration with our mountain area fire chiefs, our sheriff's office, the Jeffco open space team, and others. So what does all of this mean? Why does it matter? And let me also share with you that the Board of County Commissioners is slated to review a resolution on this task force on October 1, and we will be taking public comment if this is an issue that is important to you or you'd like to weigh in with some thoughts. So briefly, what's the rationale for this task force? How many of you attended our study session in May or heard about the study session that we did on wildfire risk? I see a couple of hands going up in the room. It was the best attended work session that we've done, and with good reason. We as a county really wanted to learn more about how we could better collaborate with our fire chiefs, with open space, with our sheriff's department and others to examine how we partner, especially in an environment of finite resources, as you heard Chief McLaughlin talk about. And what will improve wildfire mitigation efforts cost? What is the county's role? Are there specific policies that we should be looking at? Chief McLaughlin, for example, talked about hardening homes and building code. A lot of work going on right now with the fire chiefs and our building experts. What are we currently doing? What are the gaps? What can we learn from other counties? Counties like Summit County have excellent policies around vegetation. You have Boulder County, which is knocking it out of the ballpark. I personally believe Jefferson County should be a leader as well. So we need to work together. We know there are great things going on. How do we have those conversations together? So we're really looking forward to the conversation. Here's the proposed scope of work or issues that we'll tackle. What we'd like to do during our first meeting in mid-November is bring all the stakeholders around the table, look at this list, see what's missing, and then prioritize it. Where do we want to start now? What can we wait on? And frankly, I think a lot of this will be integrated and overlap. And then finally, we wanted to make sure that we had a diverse group of stakeholders, including county government, fire protection districts, law enforcement, and I want to underscore this next one. We wanted also to have representatives from both the business community and also community members. So if you're interested in joining the task force, we'll have applications online at jeffco.us in the coming week or two. We have 3 slots for business leaders and 3 slots for community members, as well as Water District, Forest Service, and others. And I also want to thank our mountain area chiefs, Chief McLaughlin, Shirley, and Chief Ouija, who also helped weigh in. The Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Schrader, was great in giving feedback on the initial concept paper, as well as Open Space and other partners. Next, I'd like to move on to our budget cuts. How many of you have heard of Tabor? Okay. How many of you have heard of debrucing, named for Douglas Bruce, the author of Tabor? Okay, great. We are facing in Jefferson County about $16.1 million in budget cuts that affect our 3 lines of effort. The one that keeps me up the most at night is our line of effort focused on public safety, and I would encourage you to reach out to me or to Captain Kleinschmidt to talk about what that really will look like in terms of safety in Jefferson County. If Sheriff Schrader were here tonight, he would tell you that even though we've prioritized public safety and found additional dollars through the sale of a county building to help offset some of these cuts, he's still looking at closing an entire floor of the county jail. Within 16 months, he's looking at closing a 2nd floor of the county jail if we're not able to find additional revenue stream. In addition, our district attorney, Pete Ware, was the first DA to have a dedicated staff member to elder abuse. That's a big deal, especially in Jefferson County, where our aging population is the largest, 60 years and up, the fastest growing cohort, 80 years and up. Special Victims Unit, that deals with kids who are victims of abuse and neglect. He's reducing the number of attorneys in terms of budget cuts. Talked a little bit about wildfire mitigation efforts. Chief McLaughlin, I want you to know that the Board of County Commissioners talked with our county manager who suggested this cut. We are now SOS, Save Our Slash program, as a Board of County Commissioners, and are working hard to find those dollars to keep that slash program in place, but it's still a question mark. Moving along, you may be wondering, the population is booming, the economy is strong, why is Jeffco facing cuts? Jeffco is one of only a handful of counties that has not yet debruced or asked for voters' permission to hold on to surplus dollars above our Tabor cap. In other words, revenue that we're authorized to collect. 80% of counties have debruced, including Douglas County. And in the meantime, past Board of County Commissioners have had to draw on our reserves to help fund one-time costs, and that's no longer sustainable. The Board of County Commissioners agreed that they would put on the ballot language which is referred to as 1A. It's a debrucing measure. I feel that 2 minutes left, Angela? I feel that we came out with stronger ballot language as a result of hearing from our community. We must have had 4 or 5 hours of public testimony. Were any of you there that Tuesday morning? See a couple of hands go up. Thank you for being there. Thanks to everyone who shared their opinion, whether you were for or against it, or you just had some really good feedback for us in terms of what you wanted to see in the ballot language. We compromised on a number of things, which I think is a good thing, and how we should operate and work together. It has a 7-year sunset, which builds in accountability. In the first year, even though we're authorized to collect up to 30 to 32 million, if 1A is approved by voters, we have agreed as a board that we will only collect 16.1 million to cover our cuts and reductions. Those dollars will help fund that previous chart and other cuts as well. The other area that we did agree to debruce in perpetuity are state grants. Believe it or not, the Sheriff's Click It and Ticket program, that's largely a state grant. That state grant, any state grants, count against our Tabor cap. So if we want to take in state grants that push us over our Tabor cap, we have to find those dollars somewhere else in the budget. We, in effect, become a donor county. In other words, we're donating our dollars to other counties. And those are dollars we want to keep in Jefferson County. This is the impact in year 1 to a homeowner, $4.50 for a medium home value of about $430,000. These are arguments for ballot issue 1A, critical supportive services, road and bridge. 1A ensures state grants don't count against our Tabor cap. And of course, we can address those proposed budget cuts. I am out of time. These are some of the arguments that are against 1A, and I'm happy to talk with you more. And we have some in-depth handouts as well that have both pro and con statements. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lesley. Okay, just a couple of announcements. First of all, Conifer Medical Center has their 8th annual Health in the Hills on Saturday from 8 to 11. They have lab tests offered at very reduced rates and free screenings available. So 8 to 11 at Conifer Medical Center on Saturday. Then Mountain Resource Center, of course, has their Bowls After Dark, September 26th. Come over here and talk to Lisa and to Sarah. And our next town hall meeting will be Wednesday, November 20th. So we hope to see you all here. A lot of the speakers that were here will probably be here again, and we'll give them another chance in another couple minutes. So thank you all so much for coming tonight, and please stick around and talk to everyone here that has waited to talk to you. Thank you.